What's up everybody, Matt Maran here for the last weekly update of 2021. So this one will be a little bit different because we don't have too many news stories to go over here this week due to it being the holidays, of course. So I'm going to cover a few of the news stories we do have this week, and then I'm going to go through my 2021 recap here of my top 10 favorite car reviews, as well as my worst car review, in my opinion, for 2021 of the worst car that I drove, as well as some other little changes to the channel that I'm planning here for 2022. So for the first news story here, the Tokyo Auto Salon is coming up in a couple of weeks, and we are going to have some interesting concepts, it sounds like, at the show. Honda's going to be bringing the Type R prototype, which will still be camouflage supposedly, but it'll be a up-close look at the new Type R in camo. Also, I talked about last week Mitsubishi's new Ralliart concept that they're going to be showing off. And this week here, Subaru has teased the one big concept they're bringing called the STI E-RA Concept. And so we have a single shadowy image of it here, and that's it. And it looks totally different than any other Subaru. You have like some vents there in the hood and stuff, which makes me think this is going to be something that's more motorsports based, because all they're saying about it for now is that it was developed in a new project launched with an aim of gaining experience and practice in new technologies in the world of motorsport, which is making its way towards carbon neutral in that carbon neutral era. And so, you know, this is probably going to be some type of electric race car type thing. But, you know, the styling, since it's so different, could suggest this is what we can expect possibly for like a next-gen, Subaru STI or something like that. I don't think this is, any kind of teaser for what the coming, normal WRX STI is going to be like here. And I don't think that the STI coming next year will be electric or anything like that. This is a very early thing here. So I think it's just, them trying to play around with that. And so interesting, but don't, get too worried or anything just yet about it, being an electric STI, but interesting, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they actually do with this little concept car. But cool to see that. Speaking of the shift to electrification, though, there's some big news here from South Korea this week. So the Korea Economic Daily is reporting that the Hyundai Motor Group has decided to stop developing gas engines, with an email from their R&D boss saying the switch to EVs is inevitable. And so this hasn't been confirmed 100%. This isn't official news just yet, but it makes a lot of sense considering, first off, we had Albert Bierman leaving as head of R&D just last week. Seems to make sense as to maybe why he's stepping down, if, he's the end of the crazy gas era and, now they're going to go for fully electric stuff. Also, we do know that Hyundai Motor Group has a ton of electric stuff in the pipeline already with the Ioniqs and, Kia and Genesis also having their own electric models coming. And so, none of this stuff is really too surprising. There's been several other car companies that have announced the same kind of stuff here over the past year or so, with Audi and Volkswagen Group and stuff like that doing the same. And so, this doesn't mean that they're going to quit making gas cars or anything like that, though, because like with Audi and others, they're still planning on refining their gas engines. And Hyundai in this report says they still will refine their engines, which means there's still room for improvements. It's just that you will never have a new, from the ground up, brand new engine from Hyundai Motor Group, if this report is accurate. So, this is something you're going to be seeing a lot in the 2020s as we go through, these next few years, is that, you're going to see more and more of just refining the current engines that there are out there, and you'll just have those kind of engines just kind of languish for the next decade or so here, with all the money being poured into developing electric stuff instead, and the gas stuff will just continue on. But that should hopefully mean that all the gas stuff that is around now will continue to get more and more reliable, and you'll have some really bulletproof engines that'll last a long, long time if you're someone that wants to cling onto your gas engine as long as possible. Because if they keep refining the old stuff, that's what Toyota and a few other companies do. They stick with the tried and true stuff, and it turns out to be very, very reliable. So one little positive silver lining here of this report, if it, again, turns out to be true. Another little thing about Hyundai, though, that came out this week was that, they're a big supporter of hydrogen tech, and they have been in the past, and that's kind of been one of the other things they're working on, as well as electrification, is, they still think hydrogen could be a potential solution as well. Until possibly now. So there's another report here from South Korean publication Chosun Biz that claims that Hyundai has also paused their hydrogen development for now. So this would mean they're going fully in on electric and nothing else. And And so the report here says that the reason why they're pausing their hydrogen development is that they did a feasibility study at Hyundai that revealed that there's some technical problems with their hydrogen tech, as well as there's a lack of marketability that this study exposed. And the lack of marketability, I mean, that's a kind of an obvious thing. There's a bunch of people that, think hydrogen, they think of hydrogen bombs, and there's, just the packaging of hydrogen as well. It requires a huge tank as of right now. And it's, there's still a lot to be worked out with hydrogen, which is why it's, not going into the mainstream like EV stuff is. But, if there's also technical problems that they're dealing with as well, that, could really be the nail in the coffin for hydrogen tech, at least at Hyundai. But Hyundai being one of the biggest supporters of this technology means if they drop out of it altogether, then, basically all you have left is like GM, Honda, BMW, and maybe Mercedes a little bit. But a lot of other companies aren't even pursuing the hydrogen thing. It's just going into the EVs and that's it. So, we'll see how this develops, but this could really be a historical change where, hydrogen just totally drops off the map if this turns out to be true, that Hyundai's pausing this, and, see how that affects the rest of the industry. But very interesting to hear all of that. And we have a few little trademarks here that were discovered this week. So Car and Driver may have discovered the name for Acura's next crossover. So they spotted a U.S. trademark application for the ADX name that was filed just last week. And the most popular theory is that this could be the name for their first EV, which is going to be, Honda and Acura both get a version of a crossover built on GM's Ultium platform that will come here, I believe, 2023, 2024, before Honda's totally bespoke platform that they're building is ready after 2025. So this could be that electric thing, but surprisingly, a lot of other electric vehicles have some type of electrified suggestion in their name. This doesn't have any of that. So also, I think it's a decent guess to say that possibly Acura is just trying to go into like the subcompact crossover segment, which they are not in currently. And so if they have some type of Acura version of the new Honda HR-V that's coming, something like that, they could possibly have an ADX name on that. Makes sense. And could, be a key component to help Acura to succeed here going forward with another crossover, since they only have, the RDX, which is already, pretty large, and the MDX, which is even bigger. So totally makes sense. We'll see what ends up happening with that. But interesting that they discovered that. In other trademark news here, I'm excited about this one. GM has filed for the Buick Electra trademark here in Canada earlier this month. And this trademark was discovered by Rivian Owners Forum. And so I guess Rivian owners are interested in other trademarks for other electric vehicles or something. But anyway, so we do know a Buick Electra concept was shown at the Beijing Auto Show back in 2020. Back then, it was kind of this coupé thing that they called a crossover. They did describe it as an all-electric crossover that offers a sneak peek at Buick's vision for a new intelligent electric future. And so, if it's being trademarked in Canada, that gives me hope that maybe this is something that isn't just a Buick for China, considering, China is the biggest market for Buick. Hopefully we do get some kind of cool electric Buick called the Electra. It just would be so perfect. You got the retro tie-in and it's, fits perfectly. And that's kind of what I wish Ford did with the Mach-E and just called it the Thunderbird or, something like that. But anyway, that's very cool that they're bringing the Electra name back, possibly. Fingers crossed that does show up on some type of production vehicle here. And then the last news story here is that Lotus has officially built the last Elise, Exige, and Evora this week. And, took a picture of it there outside of the factory. They say that they'll be keeping these last three vehicles for themselves at their museum that they have. And, it's crazy. It's the end of an era, and there will never be, it sounds like, at least another Elise, Exige, or Evora. The Emira is going to be the new one that carries the gas-powered Lotus torch here through the 2020s until it's replaced, I think around 2028 or so, with an electric sports car, and then that will be the end of gas-powered Lotuses. But at least we have the Emira to, get us by here for the 2020s. It seems like it's a very sweet car, and but yeah, still just sad to see such a awesome nameplate there with all three of those going away here. So very sad to hear that. And I just wish Lotus all the best going forward. I really hope this electric thing does well for them in the partnership with Geely and stuff. I hope that allows Lotus to, become the next Porsche and get back to a strong position. But anyways, that's it for all the news this week, but let's jump into the 2021 recap here. So, my top 10 favorite vehicles that I reviewed this year. I'm going to start off number 10 and work my way up to my absolute favorite of the year. So first off, number 10 is the Dodge Charger Hellcat Red Eye. That was one that I really that's a car I'll look back on and be like, yeah, remember when I was driving around in a brand new Red Eye and, doing burnouts and, sliding that thing around and stuff, that's just going to be something that, again, as we go more towards an electrified future, I'm going to look back on and miss and, be sentimental about. And I already am kind of sentimental about it. And so that's one that was very, very special to me this year. Number 9 is actually the C8 Corvette convertible, which wasn't a very popular video, but it was just a lot of fun because I got it on snow tires last winter, and it was a convertible Corvette, no less, that I was driving around with the roof down while it was snowing with snow tires on it, and it did so well in the snow and was just an absolute blast. And just the looks that I got from everybody when I'm driving around with the top down in a brand new, sweet Corvette on snow tires, it's just hilarious fun. And that's another one that whenever I look back, at my career here reviewing cars, that's going to be one where it's like, yeah, remember when I was driving a Corvette convertible with the top down and in the middle of winter? It's just another very fun memory I'm going to hold on to for a long time. So that's number 9. Number 8 is maybe one you might not be expecting, and that is the Cadillac Escalade that I reviewed, again, towards the beginning of this year. The reason why is obviously not because it's some kind of amazing driving vehicle or anything like that, but for 2 reasons. First off, it was my first time sampling the next generation of the Super Cruise technology, which I truly think is one of the best implementations of, these like hands-free systems that we're just starting to see here. And it also takes the cake as the sweetest stereo I've ever encountered in a vehicle. And so just those 2 things made that a really impressive experience. And that Escalade is going to be the new benchmark any time that I ever listen to any other car stereo in the future. It's going to take a lot to beat out the Escalade because it was just a mind-blowing experience from an audio standpoint. So that is number 8. Number 7 is a very recent review here, the last review of the year, the IS500 from Lexus. That's another one kind of like the Charger Red Eye where I'm going to kind of look back and be like, yeah, back whenever Lexus had the very last V8 sedan, and it was awesome ripping around in that thing. And that's another one that was one of my favorites this year, and another one I'll look back on fondly a long time from now. Number 6 is the Shelby GT350. Now this year, it wasn't the first time I had driven a Shelby GT350. I reviewed one several years ago, but getting to review one again, and also the awesome person that I got to meet who had the GT350, getting to hang out with them, and then also review the awesome GT350 it's another very special car. The GT350 is another one that is going to go down in the history books as being legendary with its amazing engine, and so getting able to spend a day with that was just another one that I'm going to really look back on. And, it just, even though it's not a brand new car, it was one of my favorite cars I drove this year still, because the GT350 is still that good. It is so, so good. And so that's number 6. Number 5 is actually my most popular review of this year, which is surprisingly the Jeep Wrangler 392. Usually, you guys don't like watching me review Jeeps. Usually they don't get super good views, but that one far and away was the best viewed video of the year for me. And I think it's just because it's hilariously awesome. It's just this insane thing with the Wrangler just being kind of, sketchy to drive quickly, and then you add a huge V8 to it, and it just, is total insanity, and was just a ton of fun. That's another one that I'll look back on and be like, remember when Jeep threw a V8 in a Wrangler, and it was wild. And so another very fun memory. And so that's number 5. Number 4 is actually the Hyundai Elantra N, partially because I think it's the best affordable sport compact out there, hands down. It's one of my favorite kind of attainable vehicles that I've driven in a long time, just with all the fun of the crackles and the pops, all the toys, the technology it has, and just how well it drove, and also just the setting that I was driving in. I got to take it on the racetrack, autocross course, and out on the street. It was just a really fun day driving the new Elantra N, and it's just, again, one of my favorite vehicles I drove this year. And I really have a strong passion for the affordable performance stuff, and I'll touch more on this in a minute. But, so that's why I think I just really enjoy driving stuff that's, not only just fun, but fun and something actually attainable for the average enthusiast that doesn't have deep pockets. And so that's number 4. Number 3, though, is a vehicle that is a lot more expensive, but it was just so sweet. And that is the Cadillac CT5V Blackwing. Honorable mention also goes to the CT4V Blackwing, but the CT5 was really the sweetest one. And there's a couple different reasons. First off, it's an amazing thing that it even exists. It's a manual transmission, supercharged V8 super sedan that is just an absolute blast to drive. They did such a good job on that car. And that also takes the cake as the wildest track experience I've ever had as well on the launch event for that car. That was, so going through VIR, the one like back straight kink, I was flat out at 155 miles an hour, just full through there, with the wheel turned, and that thing just stuck like glue and was very, very impressive. In addition to all the other fun I had on that trip, I got to hang out with Jason Fensky from Engineering Explained and that dude in blue, and it was just a really fun event as well as being a really fun time driving the Blackwings. And so another very fun car, and so that takes number 3. Number 2 is going to be a combined review of the GR86 and the Subaru BRZ. Just both of those, again, they're very, very similar. And both events are very fun in their own ways. But those cars, that's another one that obviously I'm a little bit biased. I'm a huge fan of the BRZ. That was really what, helped the channel to take off. And so I was very curious, to see how the new BRZ and 86 were. And they've just made everything better. It's just better in every single way. And the sound is better. The power is so much better. It's kind of funny. The 0 to 60 time is now basically the same as like the new WRX, despite having less power. It's just like those two cars, they did so well with the new version. And I'm just very, very impressed. And if I could find a way to justify buying one, hands down, if I could add it to my garage and I could still keep the Bullet, I would totally buy a new GR86 or BRZ because I love them that much. And just hands down, fantastic cars. And so that is my number 2 favorite car review of the year. And it's also another one that was not only just that was the car fantastic, but it was also kind of a pinch me moment where, 9 years ago or whatever, I was covering the brand new BRZ as just some kid that just bought one. And here I am, 9 years later. If you would have told me that I would be on, one of a few dozen, reviewers to be invited to review the next generation version, I wouldn't have believed you. And that's all thanks to you guys and your support of the channel here over the past 9 years to, get the channel to this place where I'm actually able to have these kind of experiences. Same thing with the WRX. The WRX didn't make my top 10 this year, but that's another one where I'm just like, I'm the Subaru WRX fan for the longest time. And if you would have told me that someday I would actually be on the national press launch with just, again, a couple dozen journalists to review the brand new WRX, it'd be another pinch me moment. I could not believe it. So I'm just so thankful to all of you for continuing to support the channel and, just for the amazing opportunities that it has provided me. And it just blows me away sometimes when I look back and think on just how far the channel has come. And it's all thanks again to you guys. But anyway, my absolute top favorite car review of the year was, of course, the Ferrari 458 Spider. And this was another one. I mean, I love Ferraris. It's probably my favorite supercar brand. Has the most dream cars on my dream car wish list are Ferraris. And just the 458 is such a special car, a car I've always wanted to drive here for the past, 10 years or so that it's been out. And so to finally be able to get my hands on one and review one was a very special experience that I loved every second of it. And you can see it's very obvious in my review. That was another one that was just so much fun. But yeah, so honorable mentions too, I do want to say, is the CT4V Blackwing is fantastic. Another awesome manual transmission sports sedan that does not get enough credit and is just, definitely worth, considering if you're someone who can afford one and is looking for a sedan. It just didn't make that top 10. Another vehicle vehicle that was very impressive to me this year was the Mustang Mach-E. As much as I don't like the name of it, it is a very, very good electric car and was a lot of fun. And as we're going more towards the electrified future and stuff, you know, it's another vehicle where it was just very fascinating to drive, and you know, just something I was very curious to see how it would be to live with one. And so that was another one that was very interesting. And so another honorable mention, but did not make my top 10, but still a very, very impressive car, the new Mach-E. Now for my worst, the worst car that I did not like this year, that would have to go to the Volkswagen Taos that I reviewed. I don't know if it was the one that I had or what the deal was, but that car was so frustrating to drive, and it was like impossible to drive smoothly. There's, you know, most cars these days are pretty good. That there's very few truly terrible cars these days, and unfortunately, Volkswagen just seems to turn out. The ID4 was another one that I didn't like very much. Now that one wasn't quite as annoying to drive as the Taos. That's why the Taos takes the crown for the worst one to drive. But you know, it's rare whenever a car actively annoys me every single time I drive it, and that was the case with the Taos. And so, you know, it's just so many good choices, especially in the subcompact crossover segment. It's really a shame because the Taos has a fantastic interior, and I think it's a really good crossover as far as packaging goes. It's just that the drivetrain just was not calibrated very well, and I'm hoping that's something that is refined, or it was just the one I was driving, or what. But it just from my experience, I gotta say the Taos is hands down you know, the worst car that I drove this year. But anyway, so that's all the top 10 and the worst. The last couple little things I do want to mention are some changes here in planning for 2022. So I'm always very candid with you guys here on the channel. And, you know, even though the channel has come so far over the past 9 years here, this past year, the channel has been kind of slowing down as far as the channel growth. Subscriber growth has slowed down. Views are down actually a good bit from where they have been in past years. And I think as time has gone on, especially this year, you know, I'm really noticing that what works for other car review channels just does not work for my car review channel. Other car review channels can review normal crossovers and get good views, but on my channel, they absolutely bomb most of the time. And that's okay. I'm just trying to figure out what you guys want to see. And what I'm, you know, coming to the realization of is that I gotta be pickier with what I review. And that's what I'm going to do going into 2022 is I kind of want to cover everything. I wish that I could just be a reviewer that kind of covers everything, and it would give me, I guess, the best possible way to review vehicles, because, you know, if I cover everything, then I have experience, for example, with like the minivans I reviewed this year, which most of you were not into, but I just wanted to, you know, if I'm going to review one of them or two of them, and I want to review all of them so that I can actually say, well, this one's better than this, and give the best possible recommendation. But that just hurts the channel because people just are tired of, you know, seeing a minivan review or whatever. And so it just doesn't help. So I think in the future, you know, maybe I will do one or two, you know, crossovers that aren't super exciting, but I can't do all of them. And so, like, one case in point, like the new Nissan Pathfinder, it's a vehicle I could review. It's available for me to review, but I probably will not review the new Pathfinder just because every single Nissan SUV that I've reviewed in the past few years has done terrible on views. And so, you know, it's just one of those things where, like, I wish I could review it so that I could say whether it is better or worse than a Telluride or something, because I like having a well-rounded recommendation. But I think, you know, for the channel standpoint, I got to just stick to sporty stuff and, you know, stuff that I know enthusiasts care about, because I know that most of you are enthusiasts, and it makes sense. I mean, this whole channel has been built on enthusiast sporty vehicles. That's what I started with. That's what I've done for years and years and years, until I started getting press vehicles and stuff like that, where I started mixing in some more normal and ordinary stuff. And I've just realized that, you know, I was kind of following what a lot of the other reviewers have been doing, because they get great views doing that stuff, but it just does not work for our channel here. And so I think that, you know, in 2022, I'm going to kind of go back to my roots. That's kind of my plan, is to actually go out and, as long as COVID isn't terrible, go out and start filming more privately owned vehicles. I still have a huge long wait list of cars that people have offered me over the past 5 years or so. I want to start chipping away at that, start doing more road trips to film more of your cars that you've offered me, which are all, you know, sporty enthusiast vehicles that I think you guys would really enjoy seeing. And then also just being pickier with the press cars that I take, and just if it's not sporty or really interesting in some way, I'm just not going to review it. And that'll mean there will be some gaps. And if you're someone who does like watching me review ordinary stuff on the channel, I'm sorry. It's just that I got to go with what, you know, most of my viewers want to see. And that is clearly sporty stuff. Sporty stuff is the clear answer. That's what everyone likes to see on this channel. So that's what the focus is going to be going forward, is really sticking to the sporty stuff. And that's it. And other channel changes there. So for one, Beth's lease is expiring on her Mercedes this coming spring. So there will be a new family car entering here next year. So we're pretty decided on what we're getting. I'm going to keep it a surprise until, you know, the springtime. But, you know, there still might be, it might go a couple of different directions. So we'll see. And I might do a little bit of a video series on that potentially, and how we arrived at the vehicle that we're potentially arriving at. So that's gonna be one change, and I'm hoping it's a vehicle I can actually do some videos on as well. So there's something other than bullet content as far as personal, you know, videos and stuff. And there's also potentially one or two other changes depending on how things go with the channel and stuff. So we'll see. Again, I'm not going to say what they are just yet, but I'm just going to say stay tuned. There might be some other changes here into 2022. But at the very least, there'll be a new car on the channel for Beth and the family here. So yeah, I mean, 2021 has been a fantastic year, even with the lower views than past years. You know, it's an incredibly special year for me personally as well, because we welcomed our daughter into the world here this year. And so in addition to all the fun cars I got to review, you know, it was just a great year personally as well. And so anyway, I hope all of you had a pretty good 2021, again, considering the circumstances of this world we're living in currently. But anyway, I hope you all are having a great holiday season as well. And so I just want to say once again, one more time, thank you all very much for watching this video and all the videos this year on the channel. You know, you watching is truly what keeps the channel running. Without you guys, the channel would cease to exist, and I wouldn't be able to have all this fun that I have reviewing all these cars. So once again, thank you all so much for watching. Please continue to stay safe and healthy. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great and happy and healthy 2022. Take care.